Hello world, it is Wednesday, July 15th. A little earlier than I normally am because I have a 7:30 a.m. Zoom meeting this morning. Another sunny day. It's supposed to be a little hotter and a little more humid today. Heat's coming back for the rest of the week, but potential for thunderstorms. So let's hope that that's true, because I think our local farmers really need it for their corn and their soy to keep growing and be productive. Today's devotional is entitled "Both Sides?" And it's written by John Edgerton, and it's based upon Matthew chapter 13, verses 10 and 11, and verse 15. The disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Why do you speak to the people in parables?" He replied, "Because the knowledge of the secrets of the realm of God has been given to you, but not to them. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes." And John writes, American Christians are divided on LGBTQ rights. Christians are divided on the rights of immigrants. Christians are divided. Remarkably, both sides quote the words of Jesus. Both sides believe that Jesus stands with them. But both sides cannot be correct, can they? It's impossible that those working to keep immigrant children in cages and those working to provide sanctuary are both serving Christ. It's impossible that those working to legalize discrimination against LGBTQ people and those working crisis hotlines for trans youth are both serving Christ. Someone is right and someone is wrong. Someone is serving Christ and someone, isn't. But whose side is Christ on? How can we know? Jesus' words are interpreted all sorts of ways. It's enough to make a disciple want to take Jesus aside and ask, why not give us a straightforward answer? What's with all the parables? Jesus' teachings are riddles and his miracles are mysteries. But he gave us a guide for understanding. Christ teaches us that those whose hearts are calloused have missed the mark. Those whose hearts are tender have a better chance of finding Jesus. Remember that you are a servant of Christ. Let your heart be tender. Let your heart break with the brokenhearted and dream alongside the hopeful. And with your heart open wide, decide where to take your stand. Prayer. God, help us to know the word behind your word. Amen. It's a difficult situation when so many people think they know what God wants and what Jesus wants and what the Bible is teaching us, especially when each side uses the words from the Bible to justify their actions. And perhaps I'm just as guilty of that, because for me, the defining text in the New Testament is the passage that's found in all three of the Synoptic Gospels, in which Jesus says the greatest commandment is to love God with your entire being and love your neighbor as yourself. All of the law, all the prophets are based on those two. And I understand that to mean that we are to read the Bible through that lens of how does this love God and how does this love my neighbor? And if we're not interpreting it in that way, we're not getting it right. And this text seems to support that. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears and they have closed their eyes. Because I think sometimes Jesus was speaking to the religious authorities of his day, not speaking against Jews or Judaism, but speaking to the particular religious authorities of his day who were so caught up in following the rules rather than the intent behind the law, that they, in their following of the rules and their attempt to be religious, they were hurting other people, thinking that they were actually helping themselves. And I don't think that's what Jesus' message is about. I think that's what Jesus was trying to call his own religious authorities to task for, was to really look at what is the purpose of religious law. It's to govern how we get along together and love one another. And by loving one another, how we love God. But I suppose that could be said to be my bias. But I don't know. I feel like as long as I'm making an effort to have my actions and my words, my thoughts and my deeds, love other people and love God and love Christ, that's what I hope I get judged on in the end. That I tried hard to love. And I think that's what Jesus wants us to do. So as you go through your day, think about your actions and your words. Are they loving? Are they kind? Are they accepting? Or does it cause you to turn away from people? And then try to figure out why. And try to find out and discover how you can best love God. And maybe you'll find you'll be loving your neighbor as yourself. Hope you have a good day. Talk to you.